Hello, you are watching Shalom World News. I'm Rory McLennan coming to you from Glasgow, Scotland. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. Israel and Hamas have expressed a broad agreement in principle for an exchange of Israeli hostages for Palestinian prisoners during a proposed month-long ceasefire. The mediation efforts by Qatar, the US and Egypt have focused on a phased approach, including the release of civilians, soldiers and Palestinian prisoners. The negotiations involve mediators rather than direct talks between Israel and Hamas. Meanwhile, the United Nations World Food Programme reported on Tuesday that minimal food aid has reached areas beyond southern Gaza since the conflict with Israel began on October the 7th, and certain parts of the Palestinian enclave remain at risk of famine. Israel's offensive has displaced the majority of Gaza's 2.3 million inhabitants, leading to severe shortages of food, water and medical supplies. Magen David Adom, Israel's National Ambulance and Emergency Service Agency, has received a generous donation from the Reverend Franklin Graham and Samaritan's Purse, a charitable Christian organisation dedicated to global humanitarian efforts. The donation, consisting of 14 new ambulances, was celebrated during a dedication ceremony on Tuesday, January the 23rd. During the October the 7th Hamas attack on Israel, around 1,200 people lost their lives, with 14 Israeli ambulances being destroyed by the terrorists. Samaritan's Purse shared with Fox News Digital that Graham recognised the urgent need for replacing the ambulances and decided to contribute to ensure the immediate enhancement of the ambulance fleet. Pope Francis has initiated a school of prayer as part of the Year of Prayer to explore different aspects of every Christian's breath of faith. This was announced by Archbishop Rino Fisichella, who is the pro-prefect of the Dicastery of Evangelization, during a press conference on January the 23rd, emphasising the role of the Year of Prayer in preparing for the 2025 Jubilee. The Archbishop said that this is a privileged time in which the faithful have to rediscover the value of prayer and the need for daily prayer in Christian life. Meanwhile, the Dicastery has developed various prayer resources and tools to coordinate a diverse range of prayer forms. In order to regulate access to the abortion drug mifepristone, also marketed as Mifeprex, 3 attorneys general representing the Republican parties in Missouri, Idaho and Kansas have filed a motion to join a Supreme Court lawsuit. The case, US Food and Drug Administration versus Alliance for Hippocratic Medicine, challenged the FDA's approval of mifepristone, saying it is harmful. This move is an attempt to keep the lawsuit alive in case the pro-life physicians who originally challenged the FDA's approval of mifepristone were found to be lacking in legal standing. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has scheduled a hearing on the appeals of defending mifepristone's deregulation at the end of June. President Joe Biden faced multiple interruptions during a speech at a pro-abortion event in Manassas, Virginia on Tuesday. Several protesters disrupted Mr. Biden's speech with criticism of the administration's handling of Israel's ongoing ground offensive against Hamas in the Gaza Strip. By the end of the rally, around a dozen protesters were shouting slogans such as "Stop funding genocide" and "Genocide Joe has got to go." The rally coincided with the anniversary of the Roe versus Wade case, a pro-abortion Supreme Court ruling which was overturned in 2022. Biden and the Democrats have made the overturning a key campaign issue for the re-election this year. An investigation has been launched by the UK's Charity Commission into anti-Semitic speeches delivered by Iranian generals to British students. According to the BBC, the Commission is also looking at footage of "Death to Israel" chants at an Islamic charity's UK premises. The BBC reported that the footage, which also includes a denial of the Holocaust, adds to growing concerns from some MPs that the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is attempting to radicalise UK Muslims. The videos under investigation were recorded in 2020 and in 2021. The Guard Corps has previously been linked to kidnap and assassination plots in the UK. An international group of bishops is advocating for universal verifiable nuclear disarmament on the 3rd anniversary of the crucial Global Nuclear Disarmament Treaty. The bishops, representing Santa Fe in New Mexico, Seattle in Washington, and the Archdiocese of Nagasaki and Hiroshima in Japan, issued a joint letter on Monday, marking 3 years since the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons came into effect. The treaty, which was adopted by the United Nations back in 2017 and then enforced in January 2021, encompasses a comprehensive set of prohibitions against engaging in activities with nuclear weapons. Santa Fe Archbishop John Wester, Seattle Archbishop Paul Etienne, Nagasaki Archbishop Peter Michiaki Nakamura, Hiroshima Bishop Alexis Mitsuru Shirahama, and Nagasaki Archbishop Emeritus Joseph Mitsuaki Takami highlighted that the treaty has been signed by 93 countries and ratified by 70. However, they noted that none of the nuclear-armed states or their allies have endorsed it. The Catholic Diocese of Yola in Nigeria has provided financial aid to 300 female victims of the Boko Haram insurgency. The diocesan initiative donated an amount of 30 million naira to the women in Adamawa State. The Bishop of the Yola Diocese, Stephen Dami Mamza, said the initiative is aimed at empowering these women and girls to build up their sources of livelihood. The prelate added that the gesture is aimed at engaging these women effectively within society so that they can help themselves and be financially independent. The World Bank Against Hunger received 514 tonnes of food and water from the World Youth Day Lisbon 2023 Foundation. The international event took place in the Portuguese capital between August the 1st and August the 6th last year. The Foundation and Food Bank collaboration benefited more than 145,000 people in need. Local media reported that surplus goods collected were distributed to 925 institutions spread across the country. These food banks are private social solidarity institutions which fight against the waste of food products by distributing them freely to those in need. Kentucky schools are set to introduce a brief moment for silent reflection at the start of each school day, as per a bill passed by the state's House Education Committee. Under House Bill 96, students will have the freedom to decide how to use the time of silence, while the school staff is prohibited from providing them with any instructions. Parents will be notified of the policy and encouraged to offer guidance on its use. The bill, approved by the Republican-controlled House Education Committee, will now progress to the House of Representatives. However, the bill has faced criticism due to concerns that it could be interpreted as creating a specific time for prayer during the school day. Dozens of people have been arrested in Belarus as part of the government's crackdown on the opposition. Over 60 people have been incarcerated on allegations of being members of extremist groups or supporting extremist actions, an accusation the government often uses to target dissidents. Some of those sentenced were earlier political prisoners who had served their terms. The police have also branded a humanitarian endeavour named I Need Help By as an extremist group, aiming to incarcerate the members for up to 7 years. Meanwhile, Belarusian opposition leader in exile, Svetlana Tsikhanouskaya, has condemned the arrests, accusing the government of targeting former political prisoners and their families. The UK, the US and several other Western countries have strongly expressed their discontent with China's human rights record at the United Nations, with the country's policies being subjected to rare scrutiny. The Universal Periodic Review is carried out every 4 to 5 years to analyse the human rights status in all UN member nations. Western diplomats criticised China's suppression of civil liberties, the imposition of a national security law in Hong Kong, persecution in Xinjiang, and the elimination of Tibetan cultural and religious identity. Meanwhile, China has denied allegations of human rights breaches in Xinjiang, including potential crimes against humanity, stating that the concerns were caused by misunderstanding or misinformation. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us again tomorrow for more. And do remember, in the meantime, you can always visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.